Hey guys, King of Charmanders here, and welcome to another level 50 analysis. Now, I had one of my viewers to ask me if I could do a Galvantula analysis, and I really think it's worth looking into. Galvantula is an incredibly powerful mon now that it has Lunge. With Lunge, you can make a lot of sweet plays because of that attack debuff. Now, it's absolutely adorable. So normally, here's what happens. When you see a spider in your house and it has patterns on its back, you light it on fire. You leave your house, you light your house on fire, you take your belongings, and you move somewhere else. That's what you do normally. Not with this thing. Well, technically with Galvantula, you want to light it on fire, but you know, we're going to leave that to some other time. That's a real-life situation, by the way. If you see a spider with markings on its back, it's probably best if you either, one, release it into the wild, or two, don't even touch the thing. Just light it on fire, kill it, and run. Leave the house, leave it, because it's probably infested. Unless it's a spoon. So anyways, Galvantula. Level 50 Galvantula is actually really good for Ultra Premier. The reason being, it maxes out at near 2500. So it's like smack down at like perfect CP for Ultra League. Now, you don't want to use it for regular Ultra League. You want to use it for Ultra Premier because regular Ultra League, there's just too many things that oppress Galvantula, especially being legendary, etc. However, well, a good example is like Melmetal. However, in Ultra Premier, with legendaries and mythicals being absent, it can be really useful, and you can make a lot of sweet plays with Lunge. As you see, level 50, 2494, very high attack, defense, and stamina. Now, at 2500 max, it's kind of glassy, but however, with Lunge, you can make a lot of sweet plays, like I said. It's very powerful. Now, Joltik is one of the most adorable spiders in the world. Normally, I hate bugs. You know what? Bugs are annoying. They crawl everywhere, and you want them to go outside your house. Joltik isn't one of those. If I had a Joltik, I would let it run around everywhere, as long as it didn't break my TV or electrocute me to death. Either one of those, that's perfectly fine. Anyways, enter Galvantula. Galvantula is only weak to two things: fire and rock. It resists electric, fighting, grass, and steel, so that's why it's really interesting for Ultra Premier. You're gonna resist Ampharos, Volt Switches, etc. You're able to resist those counter users as well as Monchamp, unless it's the rock slide, just because of the rock slide. You resist grass as well as steel. So those Ferrothorns, those Goats in the future, those Tangrowths, they don't do, those Vine Whips and those Power Whips / Friendly Plants don't do much against you. So very, very good. As you see, it also has a semi-versatile moveset as well. So if you, ideally, you want Lunge. You can run Energy Ball, but there's no real reward for running Energy Ball, because the only reason you'd want to run Energy Ball is to cover Swampert, and there's no reason to cover Swampert with Energy Ball. Yes, you'll OKO it, but if they shield it, put you in a bad situation, and Lunge does heavy damage anyway. So the standard moveset is Discharge and Lunge, and that's normally what you want to run with anyways. As you see, it's kind of hard to find a Galvantula or Joltik nowadays. Also, you kind of need a perfect as well. I would recommend you have a perfect, just because perfect maxes out in your 2494, and if you do happen to get the mirror, in the mirror for Galvantula, whichever one wins CMP wins. Of course, because Galvantula has high attack, against everything else, it's going to win CMP against most things. Alright, so here we have the PvPoke.com's rankings, and as you see here, extra large level 50 Pokemon destroy and dominate the meta. And at rank 10, you have Galvantula. Now, Galvantula, as you see, is very, very powerful. It's actually the #1 switch in Ultra Premier at level 50. It's an incredible switch because of its Lunge debuff ability. You're either, one, going to debuff your opponent, or two, you're going to force your opponent into a really bad scenario, or you're going to give whatever comes out after Galvantula goes down a huge advantage, and allows you to make a lot of plays. Galvantula is the best switch in Ultra Premier, and like I said, because it has Lunge, it's very powerful. As you see, very powerful in the lead as well. Strong lead, strong switch, not very strong in a closer because Galvantula is squishy, so even if unless it debuffs whatever it whatever comes in, 9 times out of 10, it's going to hurt a lot if they hit you with a charge move. As you see here, you win Venusaur against Venusaur, Lapras, Gallade, Excavalier, and Ampharos. It's a great core breaker for that Gallade, because Gallade is a very good save switch. Also, Lapras is also commonly used as a save switch as well. So though it's basically the save switch that dominates the other save switches, and you have very strong matchups against Excavalier. Now, the reason why you lose against Machamp is because it drops rocks on you. This is a very bait-dependent matchup, so technically you do beat Machamp. However, Charizard does light you on fire, unfortunately, and Swampert has a very strong matchup against you as well. However, like I mentioned, if you're able to debuff any of these mons right here, you can do very well. Galvantula, if it gets Volt Switches through charge moves, or if it's able to get like energy advantage, it's very, very dangerous. That's why it's the #1 switch. You switch in, you lunge, you debuff, you destroy, and then you come back in and you wipe out your opponent. That's how Galvantula works. As you see in the lead, Galvantula XL at level 50 comes out at... Okay, I have to go search for it. Comes out at number 15. Now, in the league, Galvantula beats a slew of things. As you see, the same things that we mentioned before. You do lose against Charizard, Swampert, Tangrowth, Snorlax, etc. So just be careful of those fire spins, because Galvantula is glassy. Galvantula as a closer, that's its worst position. Now, here's the interesting part. You lose against Charizard as long as Charizard has shields. However, you beat it in the closer along with Togekiss. Discharge will KO a Charizard. It will also kill a Togekiss. It kills a lot of things when you don't have shields. Now, the reason why you lose against Lapras is because Lapras is able to get a Surf on you, so you do take some residual damage. However, if you have energy advantage, if you're able to double up, 9 times out of 10, he'll probably kill everything it's weak against. Except for Dragonite. Dragonite's very oppressive, so again, like, as long as you have energy advantage, you can do very well against these matchups. And of course, Galvantula's #1 position in the switch. It's the #1 switch for good reason. It's able to give you so much play with those lunges, especially with energy advantage. With energy advantage, you're able to debuff your opponent, possibly take their next move depending on what comes in, and then you can just go to town with... You have a lot of options what you want to do with Galvantula. But yes, level 50 Galvantula is the #1 switch in Ultra Premier for Go Battle League. Alright, so here we have Galvantula. As you see, I put Galvantula at level 50. For level 50, you need a perfect. For level 51, you need 13, 15, 15. Yes, you can get a level 51. I always like analyzing the level 50 along with the level 51 to see if it flips anything. For example, level 51, I believe Azu does flip some things, like when you have a level 50 versus 51, but as you see, yes. So... And here's the level 40. There's not really worth comparing the 40 because 40 goes way below at level 50, but you know what? It's worth like comparing just how like the level 40 version, the level 50 version, just like a good look to compare. So as you see, I already built the 2 shield for Ultra Premier. Gonna run the simulator. As you see here, you absolutely wipe out Obama Snow. Being able to beat Obama Snow's Ampharos is pretty huge. You do lose against Blaziken in a 2 shield. I think it's just because those Blaze Kicks do chunk. And Charizard, as you see, you also beat Charizard in a 2 shield. But it's a very close matchup. I think you do win it convincingly, but just be mindful because you have as you see here in the 2 shield, you just double shield the Dragon Claws and you Volt Switch down. Now, if they shield the lunge, for example, if this is a lunge, you can get a little more play. For example, if they shield this, but it's a lunge. There you go. There's a lunge. Apply to debuff. As you see here, you live with a little bit more health. You're able, so you might be able to come out. You might be able to take another move from your opponent, and you're gonna come out of this matchup with 83 energy. So you're already gonna have a ton of energy to throw at your opponent. So this gives you a lot more play. So you can, if the lunge doesn't go through though, it's gonna suck. So but you can give it a shot because a Charizard will have to shield, or you're able to Volt Switch down after you hit the discharge. So it's very dangerous. As you see, it's very weak against Charmers. Just like in Great League, you do get charmed down just because you're glassy. It's no different for Ultra League. For Ultra League, it's very, very dangerous. So be very careful about Charmers. Also, Dragon Breath users, try to avoid them. You do beat the Flyers. You also lose against Empoleon. This is really close here. As you see here, it's a really close matchup just because it's literally 1 HP. If you could get a Volt Switch through when they fire, you can flip this matchup. So, if you're able to get a Volt Switch through, you can get this matchup. But be aware, you do lose the 2 shield. It's an IV dependent matchup. It's a if they have a crappy Empoleon, like if it's like a 10-14, like 10-14, something like that, I believe you can flip it. Yeah, so it's an IV dependent matchup for Empoleon versus Galvantula. But generally, like I said, try to get that Volt Switch 2. If you can get a Volt Switch 3, you could flip this matchup convincing. So try to be a little fancy. Otherwise, just keep in mind, IVs do matter when it comes to when you face Empoleon with 2 shields. Now, you lose against Shadow Exeggutor because Confusion users suck. So Confusion users with 2 shields do give you a problem. Those flip in the 1 shields though. And again, Dragon Breath users are hurt, so don't worry about that. Also, Shadow Champ. This matchup sucks in the 2 shield with Shadow Champ and regular Machamp just because they deal heavy damage. You have to be mindful of that. You do beat Lapras, of course, because Electric beats Water, and Alolan beats you, but as you see here, it's a really close matchup. If you go lunge, as you see here, the Sim's going straight discharge. If you go lunge, you have a lot of play. Lunge should technically be your play anyways. As you see here, go lunge. Lunge is like the way to go because lunge still does heavy damage. And it's the same energy, so definitely lunge away. So lunge will flip a lot of these matchups. If I run, let's see. It's still going, you know, we'll do it this way, but like some like close matchups, like I said, if you like land the lunge, they're going to have to shield the lunge because it's going to suck if they don't shield. It's going to hurt a lot. Unless they want to let it go or they're doing farm where it's like late game. So Obstagoon, Poliwrath, Scizor, you beat those as well. Again, Confusion user sucks. Snorlax also beats you pretty convincingly just because it's so bulky. Bulky mons will overtake Galvantula because it's squishy. As you see here, very strong ratings. Also Swampert just because of the Hydro Cannons. And again, Charmers. Now, with the level 51, you're actually able to flip the Venusaur matchup, as you see here. With level 51, you actually can... So, we do have a matchup where level 51 actually matters. As you see here, you straight lunge it. You actually take out Venusaur with literally like 1 HP in a dream. The regular version cannot, as you see here. Level 50 version does die to Venusaur just because it doesn't have that bulk to survive that last attack. So, level 51 can be useful. Not saying you have to invest in it, but if you're looking at it, it looks pretty dang good. Alright, so we got 2 shield. I put the 1 shield up, and then we get, as you see in the 1 shield things flip a little bit. Okay, so we flip the 1 shield, put the sim. Let me just run again, just make sure. Okay, cool. So in the 1 shield, you do lose against the regular version, but you beat Shadow Bomber. You'll still beat Ampharos because you resist those charms. Those Volt Switches, again, be very careful of Charmers because they still kill you. You do flip the Dragonite matchup in the 1 shield. So the 1 shield, you do flip a lot of things. You now beat Empoleon convincingly. You also beat Shadow... Holy mother of 1 shield. Wow. Wow, I guess 1 shield's better than 2 in this scenario. Because if you look at Galvantula in the 1 shield, it does a lot of work. Look at this. Wow. In the 1 shield, it beats a lot of Pokemon. It now flips the Exeggutor matchup, the Gallade matchup. And the Shadow Champ matchup is now flipped in the 1 shield. That's pretty dang huge. So, wow. That's pretty impressive. You also beat the Slowbro matchup as well as the Scizor matchup. So, there's a lot of things you do flip in the 1 shield. However, you still lose against Shadow Swampert, Snorlax, Tangrowth, etc. So, just keep that in mind. You also flip the Venusaur matchup convincingly in the 1 shield. So in the 1 shield, it looks like Galvantula is really good. Looks like the safe switch method is to break 1 shield with your lead and then send in Galvantula. That way, Galvantula is either in the 1 shield scenario or it has shield advantage. So it fits the memo perfectly. Galvantula in the 1 shield is very, very powerful. As you see here, Galvantula level 50, very strong, flips a lot of good matchups. Again, you still lose against Swampert and Charmers. However, that's the same thing in the 2 shield as it would be in the 1 shield anyways. Alright, so we got the 2 and the 1s. Again, Galvantula looks like a really sweet safe switch. And in the 1 shield, it looks very, very strong against the meta. In the 0s, things get a little dicey. This is its weakest position. And it's definitely not hard to see why. Because Galvantula is so squishy, unless you have energy advantage and shields, as you see here, you get cupped by a lot of the meta. You still beat things like Drifblim, Empoleon, Exeggutor, Shadow, basically anything that you're able to, like, super effectively hit. You're also able to finish off Clefable, so this is where you're able to beat Clefable. You can beat Clefable in the 0s. You straight lunge it to death. Actually, you can just straight discharge it to death. So as you see here, double discharge does KO right before. You have to time this perfectly though, because as you see here, if they get one more charm, you will die. So make sure they don't get a charm in between while you're doing this. Or if you have energy lead, you'll definitely just double discharge and then finish off Clefable. And you beat Dripple, you beat Empoleon, you beat Shadow Executor because Lunge is super effective against Psychic. As you see, it's very anything that does high pressure, high damage, be very mindful and careful. However, you do beat a slew of the meta. You even beat Shadow Snorlax in the zeros. You also beat Tangrowth and Togekiss. And at the level 51, you're also able to beat Venusaur convincingly. So level 51 does matter bulk-wise, but I think it's really the Venusaur matchup where it matters the most. So Venusaur level 51 does matter. Now, if you have shield advantage, that's a different story. In the 1-0s, this thing destroys! This thing is so good! Holy crap! I have never seen, I have seen a few things in a 1 and a 0s destroy the entire meta, but 600 ratings across the board? Yo! What the hell? This is so unfair! Galvantula in the 1 to 0s beats the entire meta, and these aren't small ratings either. The closest rating you have is Snorlax at 515. That's freaking crazy. Galvantula, if you can put your opponent to zeros, give Galvantula a shield, this is what it does. It absolutely destroys most of the meta. Don't even worry about 2 to shields, because if you give it the 2 to zeros, it's pretty much like the 1 to zeros. You just kill everything. As you see, in the 2 to zeros, Galvantula beats everything but Clefable at level 40. At level 50 effectively destroys the entire meta at the 2 to zeros. Now, we know in the 1 to zeros and the 2 to zeros, Galvantula absolutely destroys everything. So what about in the 2 to 1s? 2 to 1s, Galvantula gets... Still destroys a lot of things, loses against Clefable, Kingdra, and Snorlax. But that's only 4 matchups, Clefable, Kingdra, and Snorlax. So that's pretty fine. I don't see a lot of Kingdras running around. They do run around sometimes. I've seen some people using Kingdra. Some players are definitely using Kingdra. Not too many though, but being able to beat a majority of the meta, -4 matchups, is very, very strong. That means Galvantula is really dang good. Wow. Holy mother of mercy, this thing is amazing. It's amazing. Like, Spooder going Spood. If you don't like Galvantula on fire, it's gonna light you on fire pretty dang well. How do you like your steak? Well done. Guess what? Galvantula wrecks a majority of the meta, especially in the 1 and the 2 to 0s. Alright, so if I have to give Galvantula a rating, I give it an Ultra Premier. Alright, so I give it... a 9.5 out of 10. I want to give it a 10 out of 10. The only reason I can give it No, 10 out of 10. I definitely give it a 10 out of 10. So 10 out of 10 because Galvantula is just so powerful. It's spammy. Lunge gives you a huge advantage. If you do get a winning matchup with it, you can do plays where... There's a lot of plays you can do with Galvantula. Because Galvantula has a lot of play, especially if you win lead with it, or if you put in a positive matchup, it's very strong. Also, if you give it shields, it's very powerful. As you see in the 2 shield, we go in at 74% wins. Now, if you give them 2 to 1s, here's what happens. It's 2 to 1s. As if it has shield advantage, watch what happens to that. It goes to 90%. So with shield advantage, Galvantula goes from 74 to 90% of matchups. That's insane. In other words, 90% of the entire meta dies to Galvantula, only overruled by things like G-Fisk XL, Piloswine, basically anything that resists Volt Switch. That's basically it. As you see here, all of its negative matchups are either grass types or they are ground types. Literally. It's nuts how powerful it is. And in this 1 to 0s, it's even better. So it has such a dominant match. Its value skyrockets with shield advantage. In the 1 to 0s, 92%. In the 2 to 0s, it only loses to 11 matchups, as you see, extremely. But over 90% in the 1 to 0s, and in the 2 to 0s, and in the 2 to 1s. With shield advantage, Galvantula absolutely destroys 90% of the entire meta. It's crazy how powerful it is with shield advantage. Because of that, I have to give it a 10 out of 10. In my opinion, Galvantula is also very underrated because, like I said, there's a lot of plays you can create with Lunge. And there's a lot of sweet things you can do. You could pivot out with it a lot. At level 50 in Ultra, it's a lot more powerful in Ultra League at level 50 than it is in Great League because it has that bulk. at the same time, as you see here, it's just so freaking good against the meta that comes out, because against the meta that's the overall meta, it's so strong. And because I have to give it a 10 out of 10. It does take some skill to play. That's probably Galvantula's con, is that it can get out pressured and it needs shields to operate. Those are probably its only two cons. Out pressure and it needs shields to operate. Other than that, it's the best switch in the game with shield advantage. I mean, best switch in Ultra Premier. Best safe switch. If you give it shield advantage, its value just goes so high, and it puts a lot of pressure on your opponent. With lunge, you can also do sweet debuff plays, and you can pivot out. There's a lot of things you can do with Galvantula. So because of that, I have to give it a 10 out of 10. In my opinion, it's very underrated. It is in the top 10. However, it's in my opinion, if you play it well, it's a very underrated mon in the hands of a really good player. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this analysis. Please like and subscribe if you like this video. Again, I'll be doing more level 50 analysis. Galvantula looks to be really sweet, and if you do have that hundo or that 13, 15, 15 for level 51, it's going to be a monster in Ultra Premier. And if you like using it, like I like using it, and if you're really confident, you really like it, you should probably build it. I will see you guys on the next video. Good luck on your Go Battle League sets.